Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Father Steve. I'm the pastor here at St. Francis of Assisi Parish, and welcome from every little corner of Northeast Ohio, every church, every community, everyone who's just seeking to encounter Jesus here this evening. Welcome. We're so happy to be able to host you, to be able to be with you, to welcome our cast members from The Chosen, and to spend time focused on unity together. My job is to welcome you, so we'll start off with a prayer together. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. And dear Lord Jesus, we praise and thank you for the gift of this night, for all the ways that we have with media and communication to spread the gospel, the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ, and to invite others into an encounter with Jesus. And we just ask your blessing upon this night. May our hearts be open to the work that you want to do. May you inspire all of those who share here this evening, and may this night bring us closer together as one. And we ask all of this through Christ, our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. You're at St. Francis of Assisi Parish. I'm going to tell you one quick story about St. Francis and his life, because St. Francis just lived the gospel. It was incarnate. Whenever people encountered Francis, they encountered Jesus Christ himself. When he proclaimed the gospel, it was as if people heard it for the first time. Remember in 1223, if you know the story, he did the first nativity scene at Greccio. I don't know if I say that word right, in Italy. And he got everyone together in the town with all of the animals to make the nativity scene, the creche, because he wanted to see with his own eyes anew the poverty and humility with which Jesus came into the world, in the stable, in the manger. So with all the animals in the town gathered, they celebrated Christmas Mass together, and everybody left overwhelmed because it was like they were there, right? So St. Francis lived out the gospel so fully that when people encountered him, they encountered Jesus. Our chosen cast members, that's what you do. You bring the gospel, you bring the scriptures to life so that people can encounter Jesus in a new way through your work, through your ministry, and their lives can be changed. It's all of ours opportunity to live our lives to make Jesus known. And so thank you for your work and sharing here with us this evening to make Jesus known through his word, through the scriptures, which you bring to life so that people can pray with, encounter, and know the truth of the scriptures. Look forward to being here with you this evening, and we have a few more songs to continue to get us started.
Could have Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Jackson. I'm with the Kirtland Heritage Group. We're the ones who, working with the cast of The Chosen, put this together. This is Selah, the women's group. The songs that they sing were This Little Babe. The songs they sang were This Little Babe, Oh That I Were an Angel, and Come Thou Fount. Before we begin and turn the time over to the cast, how many of you are fans of the show The Chosen? All right. So I'll just take a moment to tell you a little bit about the Kirtland Heritage Group and what we do. Many of you probably have not heard of us before. Our goal is to promote as many activities, interfaith activities that we can. We love gathering together with people of different faiths, sharing many things that we have in common with each other. And over the 2-day event, we have an event this evening, we have an event tomorrow in Kirtland. We're going to have parishioners represented from 158 different congregations in Northeast Ohio. And it's going to be great to have many people together with a shared belief. And so that's the reason we do these events. We, as often as we can, we have events. We run a 5K race in Kirtland. We have special guests. Earlier this year, we had Rudy Rudiger, the inspiration from the movie Rudy, come out and he did a devotional for people. We've had the piano guys, if you know who the piano guys are, they come out and do concerts. So we try to have as many events as possible to bring people together and to truly unify. And we love the area that we live in. So that's who I am. That's why we're together tonight. The program, we're going to hear from all three of our cast members. I'll introduce them in a second. And then we're going to have a Q&A. And we have questions that have been sent in. Many of you who are here have sent some of these questions in. Teresa and myself, who where's Teresa? Is she here? She hasn't left yet. Okay, so we're gonna moderate the Q&A, and then we're just gonna have a really fun evening. So let's introduce the cast. So we're gonna go in order who's sitting. That's not the order we're gonna go in speaking. So this is Sophie or Sophia Blum. Okay, who does Sophie play? Okay, just making sure you know. Okay, it's gonna be great when we get to Sean to see who he plays. Okay. All right, George Xanthus. Who does George play? All right. Who's your favorite of these three, by the way? Okay, good job, Martha. Okay. And Sean Sharma. Who does Sean play? Oh, good job. Good job. So we're going to hear first from Sean. He's going to share a few remarks. Then we're going to hear from George, and then we're going to hear from Sophie. And then at that point, I'll come back over and we'll share what's next. Sean, thank you. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, I'll just sit here. Hi, everyone. How are you? It's so good to see you. Thank you for making time to come out and see us on your weekend. I'm just going to speak for about 10 minutes and then pass the baton. But I just really want to open by thanking our hosts, both this community here and then the community at the church we're going to go to tomorrow. Joe, I know you're busy doing business, but Joe Jackson and then Teresa Sari and then Sarah and the team who put this together, it's such an inspiration to know that our show that we pour our love and time and care into is bringing people together who may have different faith traditions, may have different doctrinal beliefs, but we all recognize that the show belongs to everybody. It doesn't take a denominational approach. It's just the story that we all share in common, and that we can all unite around the greatest commandments, which is to love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And that everything rests on that, right? And so the fact that you are all here is testament to that. And so I really want to thank you for being examples of how we should all be with each other, which is to be in each other's spaces and to open our hearts and our minds and to focus on what's most important, which is love with each other. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. Yeah. And, hopefully you'll have this experience tonight with us, which is that our show belongs to you. We couldn't do this without you. So this is not a typical relationship between actors on a show and then the people who enjoy the show. We quite literally could not do this without your support. I see so many of you wearing teal, wearing some of our shirts or hats or this or that. You help sustain us, which gives us the blessing to share this story with people around the world. And you should know that our show now is translated into 175 languages, on its way to 600. And that is dubbing. That's not just subtitles, because there's a lot of people in the world who still can't read. So they need to hear it in their heart language. And once we hit that 600 languages, our show will be able to reach 95% of the population of the earth with this story. And we're already in 195 countries. And we haven't taken even one penny from any big studio or network. This has all come from you and our community to do it. So I just really want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to have a very rare and privileged experience as performers. I've been on the show now. George and I started this journey together in 2018. It's been 7 years since we started this journey. Of course, none of us knew where it would lead. And we've got 1 year left. After next year, we're done filming, and then by 2028, all of The Chosen will be out. But we've only reached 500 million people yet. We still have 2 more billion people that we're trying to reach. And so thank you for making that possible for us. I've had security during one of the most difficult times, both in the world and then in the artistic industry, because we had the pandemic, and then we had the strikes, and then we had the amount of work in the film and television industry has kind of decreased since the strikes, and stuff's going around the world. So I'm so grateful to have job security during one of the most difficult times. So shifting gears, though, I just wanted to share a little bit about Shmuel and a little bit what's on my heart to share with you tonight. First of all, every actor wants to have an opportunity for their art to touch people's lives. It's why we get into this. And there's no story that can touch more lives than this story, and we're seeing it. And so for me, I'm kind of living the dream that any artist could have, which is to be able to communicate to people. And I'm not, I don't have any greater wisdom than anybody else in this room, but if I'm going to be given an opportunity to speak to a group of people, I want to share something that's useful for people. And so it's been in my heart to talk about something that I think we're losing a little bit, and I think we have to remember in the example of Jesus especially, which is the importance of healthy conflict. Because it seems like we're getting to a place where people cannot handle conflict with one another. But we need to live with healthy conflict. It's essential to have that tension between keeping things the way they are and then opening your eyes to see something new. And Shmuel, I think, is a character that really challenges us because he's not a bad guy. He's not a villain. He's just wrong. Anybody in here been wrong before? Right? So, but it challenges us because we see him, he seems like he's on Jesus' case and he's trying to expose Jesus as a false prophet and all, but I just want us to think of the confirmation bias that all of us have about something, where we know already what we want to believe, so we shape everything, no matter what it is, to fit our view. And that's what Shmuel's doing. He wasn't at the feeding of the 5,000. He wasn't at the Sermon on the Mount. He didn't get to see what Yusuf has seen. And yet people judge Shmuel the same way, but he quite literally hasn't been able to experience the same things. He wasn't able to experience what Nicodemus experienced with Jesus on the rooftop. So he's doing his best to serve his God the way he was raised, the way his parents raised him, and the tradition he was raised with, terrified his people are being led astray by another false prophet or con man, and so that's what's driving him. But he's wrong. But I'm so proud of him, because at least he's taking action. At least he's taking responsibility for his community and doing what he thinks is best. And he's a young man. Does God give up on us when we're 30 or 40 years old? Doesn't Shmuel have time to find the truth? Is he beyond redemption? So I think that whenever people come up to me and they're like, oh, I want to punch you in the face, or sometimes you're, and I'm like, well, that's good, because you probably want to punch yourself in the face sometimes, you know? You see a bit of yourself in Shmuel. We don't like that part of ourselves that can be wrong, especially about him, right? So if we know we can be wrong, of course we know when other people can be wrong. We need to have compassion for one another and not separate ourselves and, cancel people and separate ourselves from people. Now, I'm not saying people who are just, toxic and destructive and will ruin your life, but a lot of times we don't associate with people anymore that we really shouldn't cut ourselves off from each other. And we have an example of that in The Chosen. We even have an episode where Simon says to Matthew, I will never forgive you for what you did to exploit our people and to collude with the Romans and oppressing us and being a tax collector. You made our lives miserable. You were hurting us when we were down. I forget all the words he says, but he essentially says, I can never forgive it. But they stayed at the same table. And they did so much good, healing and working miracles and supporting Jesus' ministry. And years later, they hugged it out. Would that have happened if they walked away from each other and they just turned their backs on each other? No. They were still able to stay at the same table even if they hated each other, because they were serving something greater than themselves. And I think there's a beautiful lesson in that for all of us, especially when Jesus talks about carrying other people's burdens an extra mile, which we see in the show as well, where the idea that the disciples would carry the packs like a whole nother mile further disarmed the hate of the Romans. And they felt ashamed, and they saw an act of selfless love. Jesus calls on us not to be the peacekeepers, but to be the peace. What does that mean to you? I'll tell you what it means to me. It means being willing to speak up when you see something that isn't right. Now, one of two things is going to happen. When you challenge the status quo, when you speak up and share your truth, you might be wrong, like Shmuel is wrong. But what's the worst that can happen? You get in trouble, you learn a lesson, you realize why you were in error, you have an opportunity to try again, and this time learn from your mistake. Or you're right, and then you carry your cross, you die on your cross, and through your sacrifice, part of your world is redeemed. And I've seen that over and over and over in my life, whether it's in my family, in my school, in my union, in my community, I have tried my best to speak my truth. Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, and every time, even though it really hurt, something good came of it. The world got a little bit better because someone was willing to stand up. But one of the reasons why I think we don't stand up is because it's terrifying. It's terrifying because you could be wrong too. But it's terrifying because we know we will likely be treated with hostility. When you speak up, whoever is in power, whoever the status quo is, they own it. They feel protective over what they've created. They feel protective over the order, over the way society is, the organization is. And so they very rarely treat somebody who's speaking up and criticizing well. And also, to stand up and speak your truth is such a stressful experience, to like make yourself a target and say something in front of a bunch of people, that almost nobody does it well. They're too extreme. They use language that's more extreme than they should use. It's just so stressful to speak up. So part of what I would like to spread with my own message, with my own opportunity to be in front of groups of people, is just like Jesus does. When he encounters Shmuel, after Shmuel has been trying to persecute him, trying to get him in trouble, all this stuff, and they encounter each other after the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus has every reason to rebuke Shmuel and say, what are you doing? You're wrong, blah, blah, blah. But what does he say? You look troubled. Would you like to go pray with me? Sometimes people just need someone to be with them. He opened his arms to somebody who's been chasing after him. I was telling George the other day, there's an episode in season 2 when Shmuel is in Jerusalem preaching, and John and Simon go to Jesus and say, Shmuel is here in Jerusalem, and he's trying to warn people about you or whatever. And do you remember what Jesus says? He says, our Shmuel? Not Shmuel, our Shmuel. He's still taking ownership of Shmuel, even though they're not seeing eye to eye for the moment. And so if you are the one in a position where somebody is speaking up and you're the one being criticized, I just wanted to encourage you to be like Jesus in that situation too, where instead of being even more hostile or defensive with somebody, just see if they need companionship, someone to listen to them, and maybe they might be right, and if they're right, everything can get better if you listen. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you tonight. You know, there's the story that Jesus talks about the one sheep that goes away from the flock, right? And so if we separate ourselves from people, we suddenly can end up isolated and alone, and that's not good for anybody. We should go out and bring those people back in so that they don't get extreme, they don't get hateful, they don't get angry, because we need each other. We really do need each other. So, I don't know, those 10 minutes go by really fast. I'm just telling you both. But that's what I wanted to share with you tonight, that from my perspective, I'm so grateful for the role of Shmuel, because I get to be a catalyst for the conversation around what do we do when someone's got a good heart, they're just wrong? How should we treat somebody who means well, but they're just wrong? And is being mean to them going to make it any better? Is it going to bring them to God any faster? It's probably going to push them away. So if we can put ourselves in the shoes of those that we disagree with, if we can stay at the same table, if we can carry their pack an extra mile, even though it sucks, because they're so wrong, but if you can actually be the peacemaker, if you can be willing to take that step, I think that's the example Christ asks us to follow, and he sets for us for himself. So that's really what I wanted to share with you tonight. Thank you so much for being here, and I would love now to turn things over to, are you George? All right, George.
I didn't think I'd find myself agreeing with a Pharisee so much. G'day, everyone. I heard Sean talking about how our series is now translated into 175 different languages. Still no Australian. G'day, Jesus, like that one doesn't exist yet. It's really, I mean, I almost want to find myself agreeing with certain sections of what you were saying and build upon them, and I'm sure I will come to that at some point. I've actually been... I didn't know about because I looked at the program and it said Messages of Unity, and I was trying to frame, speaking to all you lovely people here tonight about that, and I can actually do it pretty quickly because I feel like The Chosen is a vehicle for unity. Case in point. And I've been able to experience that all over the world, and an interesting example of it, because I want to try and interweave my own journey that's happened on this show since the start. 7 years ago, me and Sean started at the same time, didn't see each other, I imagine, because I was out catching fish in the cold with a big green burrito. For those who don't know what that is, it's this giant slug that is supposed to be removed during CGI special effects, and our talented SFX team adds hundreds upon hundreds, possibly thousands of fish. So if you ever see us trying to, haul a net full of fish, that's just a big green inflatable thing. Funny story about that day is that we were all instructed to get into the water and help heave this slug out of the water. And Shahar and Noah said, "Not us." And they stayed in the boat, and Nick Shakur didn't like that. Nick Shakur plays Zebedee on the show, my thunderous father, and boy is he thunderous. Wonder where I got it. So Nick took it upon himself to splash them as much as possible. So if you watch this scene, you might see some unnecessary suds being kicked up by one Nick Shakur. But I've been on the show for a long time, and I want to try and interweave the journey of John from the beginning to now, 7 years on the show. But where my travels have taken me, if I can afford, like the Gospels often do, when you're reading it, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, go Acts and Revelation as well. My character wrote a few books, it seems. And I'll get to that. But, I'm going to try and put myself in the future and in the past here. Very John of me. As he refers to the past when he starts his gospel, in the beginning was the Word. Our show takes such creative license with that moment. If anyone's seen it in our show, it was creative license that our writers took to have John sitting there deliberating over it with Mother Mary, which was the first time I got to share the screen with Vanessa. The last time I got to do it was for that. And that was quite emotional. And I'm sure I'll get to that again, interweaving of time. Time is, here we go. Not that, I was going to show my bottle. Can you show me this bottle? I've actually got a sticker on here. It says movimento. Anyone know Italian here? What movimento means? It means movement, which basically we were told when we were on set. It became like the catchphrase when we were on set. When we were in Italy, we filmed the crucifixion scenes of season 6. Actually, all 3 of us were there at the, in Italy filming. And movimento was what our AD would say when he wanted background to start action. So they gave us this little memento, and you can see the 3 crosses on here. It's very small for those of you in the back of the audience. But that was the last time I shared the screen with Vanessa in this season, but the first time was season 2. John writes these words, and, going to this end of the journey, I found myself speaking like this at a Greek Orthodox church. So for those who don't know, I was raised in the Greek Orthodox tradition. We always say you're a good Greek boy. That means you go to church every Sunday. And unfortunately, my grandmother would say, "No, I am not. Sorry, Yaya." Greek Orthodoxy is so strong in Greek culture, and I'm so proud to be Greek Orthodox and to have the opportunity to speak to young Greek Americans in New York City, actually at the Church of St. Nicholas, which is right next to where the World Trade Center stood. It actually was in the radius of the destruction. So this was a moment that we call him the patriarch of the Greek Orthodox Church, essentially the Pope, was going to come and bless St. Nicholas Church. And I was very lucky enough to be invited to this. So talking about unity, I found myself in this moment speaking to all these young Greek Americans about, just like I am now, about my journey as John on the show. And, about 3 or 4 months before that, this is the ultimate name drop, I am so sorry. But I was meeting with the Pope Leo, in Italy. And that was something that was just a massive honor for us. It was myself, Jonathan, Elizabeth, who plays Mary Magdalene, and Vanessa, who plays Mary Mother. And I'm just looking at this year of my life where I'm in Italy filming the crucifixion, and I'm meeting Pope Leo, and then in September in New York and Washington, I'm meeting the Patriarch Bartholomew, And in the middle, they met each other. And this message of unity, Pope Leo and Patriarch Bartholomew were sharing smiles and embracing and talking about how both their churches should, open up the dialogue more and more. And I think that it's beautiful that this is happening, and I'm so proud to be on a show where this literally happens every day. And it's not just between different Christian denominations, it's between people of all faiths and backgrounds. And our show has always been so open and welcoming. And it's no surprise that our characters are so layered and so three-dimensional that, Sean, who plays Shmuel, a Pharisee on the show, can come up here and touch all of your hearts the way that he did and touch mine. In the same way, I've had the same thing with John, You don't know how much you think you can learn from a saint. And I got asked this question, name drop. I was at the Vatican, soz. And they asked me the question, what is it like to play a saint? And I looked at them pretty confused. And I said, I'm really sorry. And I'm going to say the same thing to everybody here. I hope I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm not playing a saint. And, I got some puzzled looks. And I said, well, yet. And I think that's the difference. And I think the reason why people resonate with these apostles and with these people in the show is that Jesus makes them what they aren't and what they don't think they can become. Case in point, an impetuous, eager to please, very abrasive and emotional son of thunder eventually goes on to use the word love more than any other author in the Bible. And I call that journey the journey of thunder to love. And there's so many things that John needs to learn across the show that I have learned along the way and that I hope that people get to learn. But the one that kind of sticks out to me is this learning, this message of surrender and service. Not to tug on the heartstrings too much, but I was learning about service while sitting at the table of the Last Supper. I got to sit right next to Jonathan, who plays Jesus on the show, and I'm right up close to everything that he's saying, whether he's saying it out loud, for our show, or whether it's, a little bit more quiet, because I'm quite close to him. And then we go through the scene where Jesus offers to wash the disciples' feet. And it's around this time that I am remembering a relationship that I had with a dear friend of mine. So a couple of years ago, a few of us surprised a young boy named Jared Baker in the hospital. He was battling cancer, and we thought it would be a really fun idea to bug him at the hospital. And we surprised him, and he's a big fan of the show, only 16 years old. And, a few of us, we stuck around. Me and Luke were the most annoying to Jared because we kept doing silly voices and doing our comedy routine. And we asked Jared, is it okay if we bug you every weekend while we're filming here in Utah? And Jared said, yeah, absolutely. So this was probably, someone actually asked me, we were meeting with some people earlier today, asked me what my favorite memory of interacting with fans is. And I say, without a doubt, it's getting to visit Jared every weekend. 16 years old. He got a little sicker, and I remember the last thing that he messaged me was, is there anything I can do more to be of service? Is there anything else you need? And I still have it in my phone. That's the last thing that he messaged me. And this is someone who was battling so bravely and was in so much pain. And the only thing he could think of is, how can I be of service? And then I understood when Jesus was on his hands and knees washing our feet, saying that if I, your Messiah, can get on my knees and wash your feet, this is the example you need to lead. We need to put ourselves in this position to be of service to others. And Jesus served us in in the most ultimate way, us as the disciples and everybody. And there is a message of surrender there. And I started to understand John's journey a little bit, and people again ask me, you know, oh, John is the only one that was dedicated enough to be at the cross. And it's interesting because we've actually got a narrative arc. Some of it is, you know, creative license, but I have to create a character here with the writers, and there is something that John does early on. He's rebuked for a record 2 or 3 times in the Bible, more than anybody else. First time, you guys probably know, is the rebuke for the sons of thunder, when he says, we want to rain down fire from on the Samaritans. The second time is he's asked to sit at the left and right hand. So he's seeking titles. And in our show, we actually take creative license, and Jesus says to John, stay close to me. And if John was seeking titles, then he would want to stay close because that was his choice. But in the show, what I found is that John's service to everybody else, trying to be there for as many people as he can be and not thinking about himself. In the show, I don't want to give too much away, but he wants to be there for Peter, he wants to be there for Thomas, he wants to be there for Mary Magdalene, he wants to be there for Mary Mother. And then he blinks and he ends up at the foot of the cross. And lo and behold, he's close to Jesus. He didn't organize that. He didn't try to do that. He surrendered to the message that his rabbi gave him, and he ended up where he needed to be. And that touched me so much because I didn't think I would be there. And it's fascinating to learn that as an actor and as the character of John. And it feels like the ultimate message that Jesus teaches us, which is one of surrender and service. And so if there's anything that I could say is that's what I've learned from the show, and it's been the experience of a lifetime. I wish I could chat for another 20 minutes or so. I think I've gone way over time, but I have to pass on now to Sophie. But it has been my honor, and it's been a privilege to talk to you, and I love you, and thank you so much for your support and for your love. Thank you.
Hi, folks. My name is Sophie, and I play Martha on The Chosen. Thank you for having me. Somebody asked me recently, it was an interview with all the women of The Chosen, and we were asked, how do you guys cry so much for so long? And anyone that's sitting in the front row saw that I was just crying. I think the more appropriate question is, do I ever stop? I digress. So before I jump in, the first thing I wanted to do tonight was to ask you to imagine something with me right here and now, which is that we are not in Cleveland, Ohio, but that we are in Matera, Italy. And it is not the middle of November, but it is the middle of June. Can you see it? Yeah, cool. And I am going to do what I do to prepare to perform right before the cameras go on. And I'll just do that in real time with you guys here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take stock of how I feel by going through my senses. What do I smell? Well, I smell the fake smoke that we always have for atmosphere on the show. It smells quite bad. But maybe the wind blows and I get a whiff of the cliffside that we're on and the grass and the wildflowers. What do I hear? I hear the crew, who are all Italian, so I don't understand anything that they're saying. But they're setting up their lights and they're getting everything ready. What do I taste? Maybe a little leftover pasta from lunch. The food is very good there. What do I see? I see the most amazing view of Matera, Italy, which if you haven't been, is a 10,000-year-old city built into a cliffside, into a rock face. And it's a place that feels like time forgot it. And stunning. What do I feel? Well, it's hot. It's the middle of June. It's about 93 degrees. I am sweating, schwitzing, as my people would say. How else do I feel? Well, it's been a hard few months. We've been shooting the crucifixion, and I'm tired, and I'm sick of crying, but the tears just keep coming. And now I'm ready. So what I've just demonstrated for you is an acting technique that I learned to get present. I was taught that presence is one of the actor's most powerful tools. It really helps to allow us to give a compelling performance. But more than that, I believe that being present is one of the keys to living a joyful and faithful life, in my experience. And this is actually not the only thing that I've learned in an acting class that has really lent to my understanding of my own spirituality. But more on that later. Let's take it back to the moment that I auditioned for The Chosen. So when I auditioned for The Chosen, I had never heard of the show. I was auditioning for season 3. But more than that, I had never read the Gospels. And I didn't audition for Martha. I auditioned for 2 other roles. So when I got the call from my agent that I had booked the part, my first response was, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing, I'm so excited." And my second thing out of my mouth was, "Who's Martha?" So I did what any person would do, and I went to the all-being and all-knowing Google, and I did some research, and I was floored by what I learned. Which brings me to something else that my acting experience and studies have taught me about my own spirituality. An acting teacher once told me that the roles you don't get were never meant to be yours, but that the roles you do get, you get for a reason. And I never believed that as deeply as I did when I found out who Martha was. Because like I said, I didn't audition for her. They saw me, and they said, "She needs to play Martha." And when I learned who this woman was, I was just dumbfounded that they saw right through me. You see, Martha is a woman who is always trying to get everything right. She is trying to meet the expectations that she has created for herself in order to serve the people around her. And this is something that I deeply relate to. But you see, what I've learned is that expectations that we place on ourselves root us in the future. And worrying about getting things right is a learned behavior from our past when maybe we got it wrong. And what Martha is told and what I need to learn, and what I'm still learning, is that presence is truly the holiest place you can be, in my opinion. When I'm truly present in the moment, I feel full of gratitude and humility. In this moment, I have a roof over my head. I am safe. I'm well fed. Life is good. How lucky am I? What a wonderful gift presence is. So, if you'll humor me, I would love to do the little acting exercise that I did at the top of this. But I'm going to encourage you all, as I go through my experience in real time with you here, to take stock of your own experience here in the moment with me, just to yourselves. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to breathe. What do I hear? I hear the sound of my own voice. Gross. I hear Sean laughing. What do I smell? I smell the room. I smell my perfume. It smells pretty good. What do I taste? My mouth is a little dry, to be honest, because I'm nervous. So not much. What do I feel? My pant leg? Some nerves? What do I see? I see all of you. And I'm so grateful and so humbled to be here with you. Thank you so much for sharing this moment with me.
You did, yes. I was very subtle when George said I could keep going. No, you can't. So my name is Teresa Zeri. I am the pastoral associate here at St. Francis of Assisi. And again, we're so thrilled that you guys are here. We're also thrilled that you guys are here. I have a confession to make. No, you know. The confessionals are over here, but I'm going to give this in front of all of you. I hope you can absolve me. They haven't yet. So we've been planning this event for several months. Obviously, it takes a lot of logistics to get actors from all over the country here at one time. Before Monday night, I had never seen The Chosen. I know. They're really heavy hymnals. Please don't throw them at me. I'm so sorry. As I said, I've read the book. I know what happens, but I've never seen the show. Sorry. I know. So on Monday, I watched the first episode, so now I understand the whole fish thing. You're the only one in the first episode, I think, right, Sean? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so if I didn't remember, you don't remember, we're good? Okay, cool. All right. But I must say that our new friends here got in last night, and after spending less than a day with them, what an inspiration you guys are. And I will go watch The Chosen, because if nothing else, your messages tonight and just spending time with you guys as people as well. So thank you all for being here. We do recognize what a beautiful gift The Chosen has been to so many people around the globe. And we're so thankful that you're here tonight. We will be doing, we're going to take a few minutes. Our wonderful music director, Julia, here is going to play for us. And our sister missionaries are going to be passing some baskets to help, if you want to help support events like this and the ones that Joe was referencing earlier in the evening. There is also a QR code in the program. So just want to let you know that anything you do give tonight will directly go to help fund this event and bringing our new friends in. So thank you, Julia, for joining us tonight. She's here every Sunday, ladies and gentlemen, and Saturday night. Thank you, Julie.
Okay, we're going to move to the question and answer, or maybe question and response portion. So these are questions that were submitted by some of you here, maybe some are the ones who are coming tomorrow evening. So some will be for each of you, some will be for all of you. So we'll start with some easy ones and we're going to get progressively harder. You guys ready for that? Okay, all right. So I think this is a pretty easy one, and maybe Teresa and I will alternate questions, and as we ask a question, it might lead to another question that maybe we haven't thought of. But what's something about, and this is for all three of you, what is something about the filming of The Chosen that fans might be surprised to learn? Tell us some secrets, maybe. George is ready to go.
Shahar keeps kettlebells in his dressing room. No one's surprised by that? I'll think of another one, but I can hand it off.
What comes to my mind is that because we all know how this story is being received around the world and how much it's touching people's lives, the atmosphere on set is one that I've only experienced kind of something like it on a children's show before, where everybody's just on their best behavior. Not because anybody told them they needed to be, but because there's kind of like a respect or reverence and appreciation for what it is that we're doing, that people are just so kind, they're so loving, they're so supportive, they have each other's back. I mean, just to be in Italy with these two, watching how they supported each other and took care of each other, and there were times in Italy where both of them and all of you guys just broke. And they just needed to be consoled for a few minutes before they could recover from what they were doing. And the way they would just wrap their arms around each other and hold each other and support each other through those moments was such a beautiful act of solidarity as performers. So I think you would be surprised to see, but hopefully proud to know, that the energy that you feel when you're watching the show is the energy we're making the show with as well.
A lot of jokes on set. A lot of jokes, even during the crucifixion. We needed them. We needed to break out of that, because we would be crying so much all day. And then someone would make a fart joke, and now suddenly it was better.
Who's the biggest prankster?
Joey likes to think he's the biggest prankster. Jordan is a bit of a prankster. I did something where I pranked Joey. I made him believe that there were drops of water coming from the ceiling. I think I was flicking, or someone was flicking water. We kept doing it. Tiny Christmas trees. Ooh, he did that. Maybe Jordan? Yeah, so all these people are jokesters, pranksters. Oh, Jonathan once, it's actually a blooper, but he's done a couple to me now. There was this scene where I'm following him, and he just popped out from behind the door and boom, and just I was oh, and I thought it was going to be a great scene, so I was a little bit upset. So he's done a few of those to me as well. So yeah, everyone actually is pretty much the jokester and a prankster on set.
So obviously that is not something that you may get when you're watching the show. There are a lot of preconceived notions about being on set, about being together as cast. So what do you think is the biggest misconception about the show, about the filming of the show? What do people ask you all the time that you go we should probably set the record straight about this?
That it's a faith-based show. It's a dramatic television series. Part of the reason why it's resonating is people don't feel like it's preachy. They don't feel like it's trying to tell them what to think and what to believe. It's just bringing the stories of the Gospels to life, along with a lot of beautiful, creative imagination of what the lives might have been like a couple thousand years ago, and it allows people to choose for themselves. It allows people to come to the story themselves instead of feeling pressured, forced, manipulated into anything. So that's why when Dallas or anybody hears oh, it's a Christian show or it's a faith, it's well, you've got a team of believers that are behind it to make sure that the story is handled with care and that we don't contradict Scripture wherever possible. But it's just meant to be a really great dramatic television series that just happens to be based on the Gospels. And that's why a full third of our audience doesn't identify as somebody of faith. They just love watching the show. And so, so I think that's probably one of the, I mean, sure, when you see Jesus on the cover or whatever, you think this has got to be like a faith-based thing, but it's made by people of faith, but it's just meant to be the best way to serve the story we could possibly do. Yeah.
The first episode was really good, Sean.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
In a similar vein, I think most people kind of have the assumption that everyone involved in making the show, including the cast and crew, are all people of faith, which is also not true. I'm Jewish. There are other Jewish members of the show, Hindu, and then different, sects of Christianity. So it's, and probably more that I'm not even aware of. So yeah, everyone that's involved in the show was placed in the show because they were the best person to do the job that they could find. And that's why the show is, I think, as compelling as it is. Because all they were looking for was the best person for that job. Period.
I just agree with them. I think they've taken my answers. So, yeah.
You can answer first this time, then.
That's what I'm going to do.
So the question is, for each of you, what has been your favorite scene to shoot? You're on the spot. You got to go, George.
I think that there are scenes that are really rewarding to shoot. I'm going to cheat and then go through the things that are rewarding that I've shot. But I think that miracle of the fish, it was like one of my first days on set. Like I said, Dallas referred to this huge slug as the big green burrito. Nick Shakur getting so salty and upset with Shahar and Noah in the boat that he's splashing with a smile on his face, of course. It was just so much fun. We had this huge jet heater because it was cold, it was nearly winter. So when we're running through the water, and Dallas is so sweet, he's like, I always want to make sure that I put myself in the same conditions that my actors are in. So he put on this like massive onesie, like a waterproof onesie we call them gum boots. I don't know what you call them here, some type of boot. And yeah, like a rain boot, and he's just like lugging himself around in the water, and he's like 7'8", so it doesn't really matter to him, and I'm drowning in the water. He's like, I can walk in here. I'm like, yeah, I come up to your knees though. By the way, there's an Easter egg in that scene. I don't know if anyone knows. This is now question and answer to the audience. Does anyone know the Easter egg that's in that scene when Simon, I should say, and Andrew call help from James and John and Zebedee? Anyone can think of it? John outruns all of them to the boat. As it was, Dallas told me, make sure you run quicker. And so you can see John actually, and that was because of my pure pace.
What was the question?
Favorite scene.
I think my favorite scene is the first scene that I shot for season 4, which was when Martha runs to meet Jesus at the gate of Bethany after Lazarus has died to kind of confront him. It was like my first big scene on the show, and it was just like really nerve-wracking. 'Cause it's an important scene. It's a really beautiful scene, and I really wanted to get it right. And the love and the care that Jonathan and the rest of the cast showed me that day was just so amazing, and it was such a creatively fulfilling thing to do. It's just such a beautiful piece of writing. It meant a lot to me.
My favorite scene to be in, and my favorite scene, I don't know. The first season when I got to act with Eric Avari a lot, in Nicodemus, he's so, like, you know, when somebody's been acting as long as he has and done the kind of stuff that he does, he's just a master of the craft. So here we are just having a debate about when you should follow Torah and when you should have eyes open to see something new. And that was such like an intellectually stimulating, fun debate to have with Eric. It was just Sean and Eric having the debate. And then you see us wearing costumes as Nicodemus and Shmuel, but we were just two men having this real debate. And what I loved about that scene is it's the teacher saying, hey, don't just stick to the rules, have open eyes to do something new. And it's the students like, no, this is what the book says, this is what we got to do. And so that was one of my favorite scenes. But I also, the other scene that came to my mind was the scene at the house of Lazarus, where it was Shmuel and Jesus really talking about, you know, Shmuel's that much closer to believing, and then he's rudely interrupted by Mary of Bethany, who has to anoint, it's your sister, had to anoint his feet in the middle of the, Shmuel was this close, and Mary had to do it at that particular moment. So it's all Mary's fault if Shmuel doesn't become a believer. That's my feeling. But that was so fun to be in the room with all the disciples and with Jesus and with, you know, some of you may not know this, but Catherine Lidstone, who plays Mary of Bethany, is one of my dearest friends. Been friends for, I won't say how long because she'll shoot me. More than 1 year. And she auditioned for the show in my living room as Hedva. Actually, the first audition she had was Hedva, which is the wife of Malik, if you remember the Good Samaritan, where you guys mow the guy's lawn or whatever.
We plowed his fields, and if we had known it was his fields,
right, and
we would have still done it, because we're good boys.
It was that late night scene where they're around the fire, and Malik talks about how he committed that crime, and his wife is over there with the daughter. That was the role that Catherine was auditioning for. And then they cast her as Mary Bethany a year later, so because Dallas remembered her audition tape from my house. But anyway, so what a treat to be able to be in this show with such a dear friend, with all of those people. That was one of my favorite experiences too.
Okay, very quickly, this isn't just, I don't mean to take up too much more time, but the walking on water, I just remembered that. That was so fun because all of us were there. Like, I think every disciple is in that boat. And then we also have a Jesus who's walking on the water. And that was so much fun. We really, that was probably the moment where I felt like, oh my goodness, I think we're in a big show now. Because the technology we were using for that, it was not a blue screen, it was a blue water tub that they use for like you know, action movies. And what was so eerie about it was we were in this little boat in the middle of this blue room, and Jonathan eventually comes on walking on some foam. But at the beginning of each scene, we're all in there. We feel like kids, you know. It was like a road trip or something, because we weren't at our usual set. So we all felt like we were traveling. We were in a different area. We were in Louisiana. And then every time they would yell rolling just before action, you'd hear this, and that was the tide wave machine. And it was a big pump like that would send waves out, and we would start like this still, and you hear and then you'd start to do this, and then it would get very rocky, and it was like you were on a boat on, like, you know, the worst kind of seas that you've seen, and it was crazy. And it was so much fun. They turned off the lights. There was like flashing. They poured water all over us. So much fun. Like at the end of every take, we're like, again.
How long did that scene take?
I feel like it was, the only way I remember is because Abe took some seasickness pills. And I know the first time he took them, he wasn't supposed to take 2. And he said, hey, George, man, I don't know if I should say this is way too personal. He's like, I haven't used the bathroom in like a day. And I was like, what happened? He goes, I think I took a double dose of those seasickness pills, and yeah, I think it's, so he... I knew we had to film the next day, so we definitely did 2 days of shooting. It could have been 3, but it was so much fun, and Abe was completely fine. His
You
brother
guys
is
are never going to see this show the same ever again.
But his brother's in health and medicine, so he asked for some like advice. His brother yeah, you'll be fine, just don't worry about it. So Abe went the next day, and he was completely fine as well.
Thanks for sharing.
Sorry, Abe.
Teresa, you're up.
I actually have a question. I want you 3 to give advice to your fans here and fans of the shows. And Father Steve, are you here? Oh, he's tall. That's helpful. So at the end of every Catholic Mass, there are 4 ways a priest can end the Mass. I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember what they are?
Go forth, the Mass is ended. Now we get better, these are the ones we actually use. Go and announce the gospel of the Lord, and that one's nice. And go in peace, glorifying the Lord by your life. Yeah, those are those are the 2 we use.
You just had a bunch of people go, thanks be to God.
Yeah, right?
Good. All right.
And that's
a bunch
the response.
of people did over here.
Right? Because it's all God, it's all His goodness, all His grace, and then, thanks be to God. But we go and we gather together to get sent forth to share what we celebrate in church.
So my question for the cast is, obviously, you have millions of people who have been watching this piece of art, and now what? So you've watched this has impacted you in some way. We talk about the mountaintop a lot, right? These mountaintop experiences in our faith, in our personal lives that we have, but we hear in Scripture, we can't stay there. We also have to go forth. And so The Chosen will end eventually, probably, I'm guessing, because it can't go on forever. So after one has maybe experienced the show, what should they go and do with that experience? Do you have any advice for people?
Love one another as I have loved you, and that's how you will know that you are my disciples. That's something I think I've remembered from the show. But
He didn't write it.
But yeah, definitely that. Pretty simple.
Well, as I shared, I'm not a Christian, but I've learned a lot after reading the Gospels, part of my homework, to prepare for this role. And there's so much that Jesus says in the Bible and in our show that I think is so beautiful, and that I think are wonderful messages that we could all really take and use, not least of which is to love each other, to love our neighbor, to honor the meek, take care of the sick. These are all beautiful things and beautiful ways to live our lives. So I think that if the show resonates with you, no matter what faith background you're from, hopefully it just encourages you to be a kinder and more generous human being to the people around you and to yourself. Yeah.
I find myself, after living in this energy with the show, to be more mindful of the kind of other shows and programming I'm watching. And even as an actor, I find myself not having as much interest in doing stuff that doesn't have some kind of message that will uplift, change, encourage, help the world be better in some way. And I felt it actually when I was in Texas recently, because I went and saw this movie called Weapons. I don't know if anybody saw it. It's this horror movie with the girl from, what's her name, Julia something? She was the one from Ozark. But anyway, it's Weapons, it's so disturbing. I mean, sure, it's a good horror movie, but I left that movie theater driving back. What? I'm just, if you liked it, that's great. But I'm just saying, like, when I left it, I was talking to my friend, and I said, why did I choose to spend my time absorbing that energy? I could have done so many other things with that time that would have left me feeling better, and I mean, anybody's free to do what they want, but for me, I'm like, you know what, I would rather have spent that time doing anything that would have made me feel better, smarter, of service, uplifting, wiser, this or that. Maybe it's because I'm getting older now, but so I think that's how I feel like after The Chosen. I want to participate in and I want to glorify stories that really make the world a better place.
Great answer, great response. So George, this is for you. So your character John, you have times where you're gentle, you have times where you're bold, very different. How do you prepare for those scenes where you're kind of acting in two different ways? What's your preparation for that and what have you learned?
One of the things I did to prep was I actually sought some guidance from a Greek Orthodox priest that has been at one of the churches that my family goes to occasionally for Easter. It's the St. George Church, my namesake, in Sydney. My namesake. No other connection.
He knows the Pope as well.
Yeah. Did I mention that in my... No. But his name is Father Yedasimo, and I got some advice from him and another father that actually, this is crazy, he married my parents, baptized me, and then married me and my wife, and now he's going to baptize my son. So this is 4 generations that's Father Stephen. It's okay, it'll take a little bit of a turn because they told me that this is the disciple of love and the disciple of compassion. He's, Jesus' favorite. And so I went into every scene, having these feelings. And so there'd be scenes where, John is like, James, please, don't say that. And then Dallas would yell, and cut. Cool. Make it a little more bratty if you can, a little more thunder. I want to feel some more thunder. So sometimes the prep is Dallas giving me that nudge. And so I'm like, no, James, you shouldn't do it like that. And then all of a sudden we get this abrasive kind of immature John. And I didn't really realize it at the time, but what was important was that I did have some shade to John, because now, for those, I don't want to have spoilers, but although it's in the Bible, you can kind of see the trajectory. But John is starting to listen a lot more, and as he's learning more and growing more, we are seeing him. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about him surrendering. He just finds himself, he blinks and he's got his arm around someone and he's helping someone, and he's just surrendering to those messages of love and compassion and sensitivity from his rabbi, and he's no longer thinking about himself. So it was hard early on because I had this preconceived notion of who John should be, and now you know what? John thought the exact same thing, so it was perfect. John thought he should be the perfect student, he should be the number one disciple, he should sit at the left and right hand with his brother, and he learned that it's not about titles, it's about being more sensitive and compassionate, and the performance took its path from there.
So speaking of perfection, Sophie, is just perfection. So I really did mean it. So obviously you had kind of alluded to Martha, very much a perfectionist, but the 3 of the main themes around your character, grief, faith, and responsibility. Which of those 3 were the hardest for you to portray? I didn't write the question, don't blame me. That's a good one.
Man. Hardest is interesting. I think I'm a pretty responsible person most of the time. That's something that I think comes naturally to me, as I talked about earlier. And faith, I think, has been more of a journey for me in my own life. It's something I'm still discovering and still questioning, but it doesn't feel hard. It feels joyful. I think grief is something I have certainly had experience with in my life, but I've also been pretty lucky. So I haven't had a loss in the way that Martha's had a loss. And even if I had, I think, portraying someone, I mean, certainly in season 6, but also in season 4, you know, when before Lazarus is resurrected, portraying that kind of thing day after day, hour after hour is hard. That is, it takes a toll on you in a way. But it's also a gift because it's creatively fulfilling in a way. I'm getting to use my craft. I'm getting to pour my heart into a story that I feel passionate about, and that I know is touching people, which is such an honor. And it also makes me, I don't know, a more compassionate person. So, yeah, it's hard, but it's worth it.
Thank you for that. So, Sophie, you said that when you read for a different part. I would like to ask all three of you, maybe kind of in a parallel world, if there's another character on the show you'd like to play, who would it be and why? And if you read for other parts that you did not get the part for, who did you read for? What was the part you were going for?
The one I read for, do people know this? Maybe some people have heard the parts that I've gone for. I say it all the time. I actually read for Simon originally. And then as I actually walked to the audition because I was, as every Aussie struggling Australian actor does, I was living on somebody's couch. And this couch was in Culver City, where not many people lived in the, that I knew in the industry. And so when Beverly Holloway Casting sent an email to my managers and I saw that their offices were based in Culver City, I walked so smugly to that audition. I'm like, I don't need to catch the cab. They have to catch the cab now to me. So I walked very, very confidently. I say, because everybody lives in like the Hollywood kind of areas, I assume, or Valley or something like that. And as I auditioned for Simon, on my way back, I got a message with, a callback. And they wanted, it was a 7-page scene, and they wanted to see me for the role of Quintus, which is fascinating, right? Jesus of Nazareth. And I've indirectly answered your second question. I would love to play, I don't want to play Quintus, I want to play Brandon Potter's Quintus. Brandon plays Quintus on the show. His voice is like chocolate. It is like silk, and he's a voice actor, no surprises there. But what I find fascinating is that they saw me as Simon, then they saw me as Quintus, and it was Amanda that tapped Dallas on the shoulder and said, I think we found our John, which fascinates me. I
first auditioned for Eden, but Eden had already been cast. So they just, I was auditioning for season 3 and she's on season 1. So I think they just wanted to get a sense of me. But then the character that I did audition for in earnest when they called me back was Veronica, the bleeding woman. Which would have been fun, but Jolie is incredible in that role. I don't know, they're all amazing roles. I think that I really believe that, I was meant to play Martha. There's no one I'd rather play.
Yeah, they sent out the same kind of roles for the men originally, Simon, Matthew, whatever, and they just kind of wanted to get a sense of us, and then they would kind of figure it out from there. So let's just get these guys on tape, and then we can see what their vibe is like, and then where do we want to put them from there. So I auditioned for Simon Peter originally, and I was doing my research, did the whole thing. A friend of mine helped me with the audition, And then you send it in, and then a month goes by, and I get the call back for Shmuel. I'm looking through the Bible. Where's Shmuel? Where's Shmuel? Where's Shmuel? There's no Shmuel! I've been demoted. But they want me, but for a character that doesn't exist. And so, but I did my job. And I went in and I did everything to make sure I was prepared, and that's ultimately the role that I got, and I'm so grateful because, like what you just said, Sophie, I think that was the perfect role for me. But if you're asking me what other role would I like to play, there is no better suited human being and actor than Jonathan Rumi for the role of Jesus. On and off screen, there's just no one who could do it. He is such a leader both on and off screen, and so humble, and his priorities are right, and he has been dealing with all of the things that come with fame and with financial security and with opportunities and all of that, and he is doing his very best to put God first and to pray and to humble himself in the face of this opportunity. But that's a really, really fun role. I mean, he gets to handle some really amazing scripture. He gets to experience the other actors transforming around him. So I think just from an actor standpoint, just from an acting experience standpoint, how fun would that be? That would be so fun to do those words, but not because I would be suited for that better than Shmuel, because Jonathan is perfect for that. It would just be really fun. Yeah.
So outside of the roles on screen, if you were to do one squirrel off screen, what would you want to do within the production team or creative team?
What role that's not on screen would we want to do? Oh gosh, maybe what Fogarty does.
Dallas might be listening, so
Careful.
I'm gonna say
No,
director. He'll
but
be
there's
like,
there's a guy named Brad Fogarty who we call our talent coordinator, talent liaison. He's basically the guy that interfaces between the production and the actors. And Fogarty takes such good care of us. He is so lovely. He is so sweet. I remember I was talking to him at lunch this summer with some of his coworkers that work for him. They handle our security at events. They're going to be at Chosen Con. You see Brad everywhere. He's got long dreads. He's such a God-first man. He's so lovely. But I was talking to him about, like, do you guys ever have conflict with, spending so much time together, you and your team, and all these people working for you and, young people and whatever. And he's like, I kind of feel like we don't, because we're not really working for the show. We're serving together. Right? And just framing it as serving together reframes the way they interact with each other, where they're all a team just trying to glorify God the best way they can with everything that they do. And he brings that to everywhere he goes. So Fogarty has such a fun role, though, interfacing with the talent. And I am on the board of directors of SAG-AFTRA, which is the actors union that represents and advocates for performers. I was on the negotiating committee when we went on strike a couple years to fight back against AI and for a bunch of other things. So I'm already a talent advocate. It would be really fun to be in that role in a production of somebody to make sure that the talent are taken care of. Yeah.
That's cool. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know that role exists.
Yeah.
So that's really, really cool.
Somebody's got to deal with the actors. Yeah.
Pray for them. Pray for Fogarty.
my wife and I want to start a food truck, and so we want to chicken.
Just chicken.
Chicken food.
Chicken.
Portuguese food. I worked in a Portuguese chicken shop when I was a teenager. I got very well acquainted with it, but we want to start a food truck, and I have so badly wanted to do that on set, like just set up a grill or something. So maybe I'd be in the catering department, and I would love to serve people Portuguese-style chicken. And that is actually a dream of mine. I'm hoping to do it by season 7. We're supposed to be doing it this year, and then we welcomed our brand new son into the world, Leo. Leo's number 1 at the moment, and he knows it. And the food truck is on hold for a bit, but if we can get that up and running, I want to try and sneak it into season 7. and be caterer for a day.
Before Sophie answers, I'm just going to recap what we've learned from George tonight. So what we've recapped is that there's a such thing as a Portuguese chicken shop that exists in the world.
Not yet.
We've learned don't take too much seasickness medicine. And
Otherwise you won't pee.
And we've also apparently learned "G'day Jesus," which
In a language that hasn't been translated yet.
Exactly. So
from
again,
Come and See.
so far, thank you so much, George, for your contribution. So appreciated. John the Beloved, ladies and gentlemen. Sophie, what would you do?
So my husband and I did operate a food truck together. And I never want to do that again. However, I do love food and I love making things pretty. So one of the things that I'm always most fascinated and excited about on set is the art decoration of the food in the episodes. Like the food that Martha makes in season 4 for all of the disciples and Jesus. Yeah, I mean, like those, they just make it so beautiful and I'm always so impressed. And then Dallas douses it with bug spray because the flies are trying to eat it and it's devastating. But you gotta get the shot.
Very quickly, another silly story. Is this loud enough? Alok, who plays Barnaby in the show, this is an acting 101. Don't start a scene by eating something because then every single take you'll have to eat it. And he made the brutal error of biting into a hard-boiled egg. And each take, for continuity reasons, he'd have to be like, and he had this mouthful of dry egg every single time. It's actually the scene, I think, we're at Matthew's house, I think in season 2, perhaps. There should be a scene of Barnaby laughing maniacally with egg coming out of his mouth. Shula! But yeah, so it just reminded me of that when you say, the food sometimes is lovely, but you still don't eat it if you can help it because it means you'll have to eat it every single time you get full.
All right, we'll ask one more question each, and then we'll have one special question from the audience. So, for each of you, after you have a very emotionally charged scene, how do you transition back into regular life? What is that process like?
Well, I can't wait to hear what these two say. Because I'm sequestered a lot in my synagogue in Sanhedrin with all the Pharisees. Like, my time is spent with a bunch of beards and robes. Right? A lot of people can't even tell us apart. They're like, which one are you again? Which bearded brown guy in black robes are you? At least Gadara's in purple. It makes him a little easier to tell apart. But Yanni, Zebediah, what? Josiah, Kiva, who are you? So I'm with those guys a lot, and we have a riot. There's so much fun. I mean, some of you probably know there's another show called The Promised Land that's filming in its second season in Morocco right now. And Brad and Wasim and others, and Mitch, who does our background coordination on our show, are all up there filming that right now in Morocco. So they're so funny. But for me, in season 5, for those of you who are up to season 5, you'll have seen Shmuel have the biggest emotional outburst that he's had in the show so far. And I actually, on the drive of our van down to the set, I told all my buddies, I'm not going to be laughy, jokey Sean today. I'm going to sit off by myself with my notes. I've got to be in the zone because I'm calling for the killing of Lazarus today. And so I need to be in my own space and my own mind in order to do that. And right from the get-go from the morning, I came in firing on all cylinders, and I kept that up all day. And one of the hallmarks of our show is that even when the camera isn't on us, we're still giving the other actors everything we've got so that they can react to everything. And that's the gift we give each other, is that generosity throughout the day. And then at the end of that day, your body's a little, because your brain knows it's acting. Your body doesn't know it's acting. So your body still needs to recover. So the way that I always have been, which is why I got a little bit of a dad bod right now, is because I always treat myself after I finish acting. and it rewards my body for the stress that I put it under, and usually it's
What?
steak. Okay, usually, yeah. Usually I'll go, I'm going to get another steak. And I'll go get a medium rare prime or a medium rare ribeye somewhere. But it could be that, or it could be Doritos and sour cream, or it could be whatever, you know. But but anyway, so I treat myself, and it means that my body's rewarded no matter what happened that day. And then getting regular massages really helps to just push all that stress out of my muscle tissue. And then just spending time with loved ones and hanging out and doing things like that. So we all kind of have our own kind of self-care regimen that helps us recover from putting our body through that kind of stress. But that's kind of my thing. Yeah.
I'm still figuring it out. No, I mean, we joke a lot. We laugh a lot, as you can see. That really helps. We went out, like in Italy, we would push ourselves. Okay, I'll let you say that. We would go out for dinner a lot, even when we were like really exhausted at the end of a really long day, when we had been crying all day and sweating all day. We would still share a meal together and share some laughs together to kind of decompress and, yeah, remind your body, like, you're okay, you're all right, it's okay. And I think the other big thing is like just taking care of each other. I mean, we're so lucky. Like I get to act on a show with some of the people I love most in the world. Like we genuinely love and care for each other. So there are times when, yeah, like each one of us this season, I think, on that cliffside, like lost it at certain times. Like really just struggled. And there's always someone there to give you a hug. There's always someone there to look you in the eyes and tell you it's going to be okay. Or remind you, right? Like, how lucky are we that we get to do what we love, even when it's hard. So, yeah.
Including Dallas. There was a time some of you saw this from the behind the scenes video, where I mean, Dallas is such an incredible leader. He sets such a good example. He's charming when he needs to be. He's serious when he needs to be. He sets the tone with love, but with assertiveness that you can respect. I'm just over, I can't say enough about Dallas, just in awe of the man's productivity and his centeredness. Yeah, he's a machine. But even he broke. And there was a moment where he needed to go off by himself on the cliffside and just sit and sob for a little while. Because even after any one of these broke, he'd be over there hugging them, kissing their heads, just being like, you know, I don't know what he whispers to you guys, if he whispers anything. He didn't have to hug me at all. But yeah, Schmel did get his hug. But anyway, like, even, and then when Dallas, that day when things were really, really tough, he didn't know Amanda was going to be coming to set, which is his wife. So he's walking back from sobbing, and he sees his wife, who he didn't know was going to be there, and there's a shot of him just going over. He doesn't even have the energy to put his arms around her. He just rests his forehead on her shoulder and just sobs, and she just holds her husband while he's like carrying the weight of the world of this production on his back and all of that. And so, which is such a beautiful thing. If you watch the live streams, you know, he'll start tearing up at the drop of a hat. Like, he's simultaneously such a great masculine leader, but also vulnerable and open and loving and all that. We're so lucky to have him. We really are.
So I was really worried that what I was going to say was going to be some sort of spoiler, but there's this person on YouTube called The Chosen Sleuth, who he articulated or visually described a scene that was teased to audiences from season 6, episode 1, and so I can talk about roughly what happens in this scene. And John encounters Judas. And that was quite emotional because me and Luke are clowns. We are ultimate clowns. And so we had a scene together in season 6, and it was really emotional. And when it was kind of done, we both went to the Sanhedrin and recreated a scene from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Oh no, it's not. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The fight between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. We did all the lines, our own impressions, mind you. and we fought with bananas. Those were the lightsabers. I mean, the lightsaber, when it's closed, is a full banana, but then we peeled it. And that was like the lightsaber. So how do we decompress on set? This is how.
Great answer.
It's on TikTok and Instagram, so go watch it. It's really, really good. Luke's a great editor. It's really good.
Wow, can't make this stuff up. So we are gonna finish our questions this evening. So Genevieve, will you stand up, please? So Genevieve, do you want to introduce yourself? What grade are you in?
I'm in 5th grade. 5th grade.
Great. All right. So what is your question for the cast?
Has The Chosen affected you, like, faithfully in any way?
It's the most common question we get. So, is how
Good
has
job.
being on the show affected your faith? So I'll just say quickly, I know that I'm here for a reason. I had a very difficult time growing up with the family. My parents are both from India. I was born and raised in Minnesota. They were an arranged marriage that was not healthy in our family's situation. My mom should never have married him. She told her parents there's something wrong with him. She met him 3 days before they got married. And it took her 22 years to get out of that relationship. So it was not pleasant. And I was also the only person of color in my junior high. In my high school, I was like maybe one of 3 people of color in Minnesota, in this wealthy suburb. So it was really tough, and there were times where I didn't even want to be here. But I know that God preserved my life in those circumstances, which is why faith has been a central pillar of my life the entire time. So I know that when I was 24 years old, God gave me the words to articulate what my purpose was, because I worked for a guy that made this little thing called a dream capsule. You could write on a little piece of paper, roll it up, and put it inside this thing that you could wear with you, so you could always keep your dream or your purpose with you. And I wrote that my dream was to make the biggest possible positive impact on as many people as possible, protecting them from the evil in themselves and others. That came to me when I was 24 years old. And my sphere of influence kept growing from my community in Minneapolis to then, Los Angeles and casting, and then SAG-AFTRA, and now through The Chosen. And so I tell people that when I do what Jesus calls on Peter to do, which is keep your eyes on me, right? When he's walking on the water, he says, keep your eyes on me. And it's the moment that Simon takes his eyes off Jesus, starts freaking out, looking around, that he sinks, right? I find when I keep my eyes on God and why he put me here, life goes really well. And when I take my eyes off of him, I start to really struggle. And so being on The Chosen, to me, the way it's affected my faith is it's just shown me that I'm where he wants me to be and I'm doing what he wants me to do. Yeah.
It's affected me a lot. I didn't really grow up with a lot of faith. I grew up ethnically and culturally Jewish, and I would go to shul, when I was told to. But faith wasn't. It was really steeped in tradition more than faith in my household. So I kind of, as an adult, had to figure out if I wanted faith to be a part of my life and what I wanted that to look like. And I think that I started that journey before I got on the show, but being surrounded by, well, what I'll also say is when you don't grow up with that, and you grow up with, my parents are incredible, wonderful human beings, and they're very intellectual. They're very smart. But I kind of had this feeling of like, oh, I'm too smart to believe in something I can't see. That was kind of, and I was honestly jealous of people who could. And I think that being surrounded by people who are of faith really made me face what I stand for and what I want to believe in. And to choose for myself what that is. And to make that leap of faith. To believe in something I can't see. and define what that is for myself. So I think that, the conversations that I've had with so many of my castmates who are of different faith backgrounds than me helped help me find my own anchor and what I wanted that to look like.
Sorry, what was your name again? Genevieve. Oh, thank you for the question. For me, I recently got to visit a very interesting place. A little bit of a Bible question for everybody. Does anyone know where John wrote Book of Revelation? Did I mention it before? Patmos, yes. I visited Patmos about a month or so ago, and I got to sit in the cave of Apocalypsis, which in Greek means revelation. It sounds like a big scary word, but apocalypsis in ancient Greek just means revelation. And once I told a few people there that I'm just there for some research, and eventually it got out that I was playing John on The Chosen, and they took me into some places where, people usually aren't allowed to go, and the history that I learnt about John and his presence on this island and this cave that he was in. And, one of the most famous pieces of iconography is an elderly John. Would have been, they place him around 80 years old, dictating to a young Prochoros, which was his scribe or his helper, because John was so old he needed somebody to write for him. And sitting in this cave, I actually allowed a moment of meditation in there. And I was just sitting in silence in that cave, and I thought to myself, this is where the journey on The Chosen has brought me. And the serendipity of, I'm Greek background, my family's island where my ancestors came from is in the same group of islands. They're called the Dodecanese. So I'm ancestrally from these islands, and I'm here in this cave where a man who I am portraying in this TV series, and this person from history and from scripture has brought me to this cave on home soil, and it was a big pinch yourself moment. And I think I've become so much more educated about what Greek Orthodoxy is. I would have never discovered that if I wasn't on The Chosen. I've read John's Gospel. I find myself quoting it, when I'm telling stories from set. I may have done it a couple of times tonight. And yeah, I wouldn't have known any of those things, and it's brought me closer to the Greek Orthodox community. I probably don't, go to church, probably as many times as, I should. But this is a huge cultural, of huge cultural importance to me and my family. And I've been so proud to play this character. And again, sitting in that cave in Greece was something else. I highly recommend everybody do it. I work for Greece's tourism industry. Clearly, I'm going to get them some more money here. I'm just kidding. But just to give you an idea, John was exiled to this place because, the stories go that he every other attempt to try and kill him failed. So the Roman officials said, send him to Patmos where everything goes to die. And to this day, that island still gets shipments of water because water doesn't run there. So they still get shipments of water, clean drinking water. So it's this very difficult island, but it has sprouted so much significance for so many people. And I would have never experienced that without The Chosen.
So we are going to end our evening, our time together in prayer. So Julia and Jennifer, thank you. If you are welcome to join us as we together end with the prayer of St. Francis, fittingly both where we're located right now, as well as obviously that message of peace, of hope, of unity. So I believe it's number 828 in your hymnals, ladies and gentlemen, I think.
Make me a channel of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness, only light. And where there's sadness, ever joy. Oh, Master, grant that I may never seek so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned, in giving of ourselves that we receive, and in dying that we're born to eternal life.
So thank you to everyone who made this possible, especially the Kirtland Heritage Group, Father Steve Flynn, everyone here at the staff at St. Francis, including the maintenance crew and parking, Katie, Sarah Jackson, Selah, the choir, both Jenny and Julia, and most especially you for coming out, for supporting the mission and the vision of The Chosen. We so enjoyed having you tonight, and thank you to our special guests. So could we please send them off with a good farewell. Please drive carefully, and as you leave, remember, we just talked about being nice to each other.